Today we're all about Valentine's Day. So I am letting you in on a little secret, but you have to promise not to judge me. You're about to see all of the stamps that I have that's related to Valentine's Day. But guess what? This is a small fraction of my Stampers Anonymous stamp collection. Don't judge me, guys. So first we're going to do a look through of what we're going to work with. Secondly, we pulled out some inks. We're going to use this because it's one of my favorite collage mediums. I am a fanatic for craft paper. I just love the grunge of craft paper. Also, I love how thin this paper is. It makes it really easy to tear and collage on other pieces of paper, canvas, wood, watercolor paper, whatever you are collaging on. I love the thinner papers because it just makes it amazing. Again, I'm using permanent archival inks because since we are collaging, we're going to be using a lot of water-based products. So whether it's glues, whether it's watercolor paints, whether it's acrylic paints, whether it's distress inks, we're going to use a lot of water. So we want to make sure our images stay put. So let's get started. Let's look at all the stamps. As you can see, Tim Holtz is my favorite designer. Whatever he is selling, I am buying because he has a talent for creating the most beautiful, grungy, inspiring images that really challenges you to think outside of the box and create cards or layouts, whether you're junk journaling, whatever you're doing. His products really inspire me to think outside the box, and it makes me create items that are unexpected and non-traditional for different holidays. So for this case, for Valentine's Day. So I'm going to start and I'm going to show you these small stamps. So these are Valentine stamps. And this is, what do you call this stuff? I don't know. Gosh, someone help me. We'll get back to it. Oh, blueprint. So these are the blueprint stamps. So as you can see, I have, why doesn't it say it on the small one? So I have the large blueprint stamps and I also have the minis. So if you see just the size difference, this is the size of the full size and the minis are like a miniature. They're the same art, but they're scaled way down. So we're going to figure out a way to use this. So this is the Valentine silhouette. So you have a big background stamp here. One of the things I love about this designer is that his designs are timeless. So I love this background stamp. I've seen other creators actually stamp the full background and then cut actual pieces off. So if they only want the love, they'll just cut out the love. So I think that's a creative way to use your stamps as well. All right, this is not necessarily Valentine's, but I just love it. It looks like old worn wallpaper. And again, you can stamp this in any color and you can get different looks for everything. So I think it's romantic and I think it will be a good choice for our Valentine's Day collage paper. This is CMS 006. But when you take out the actual stamp, it's blank. And I'm so happy that as a company, they updated that because when you're stamping, it's hard to know where your placement is. It's also hard to know the orientation. So now that they are reissuing the older stamps with the image printed on the actual rubber stamp, it makes it so much more convenient for the creator. This is a background stamp. So you get two. The one to the left is a Valentine's Day theme. So it's pretty much a image of a seasonal catalog. You know, we're on the internet now, but back in the day, people shop through catalogs. So the way that we shop on online stores, they shop through catalogs. So this is just like a vintage image of a catalog. This is seasonal catalog 2, CMS 178. All right, we're going to use the paint by number set. So although these are not Valentine's theme, we can always use the numbers. So we can put the number 14 there. If you are making a card for your sweetheart and you guys have a particular anniversary day or anything like that, you can choose that. So numbers are always good because they're fully customizable and you can do whatever you want with them. You can create any sort of stamping or any sort of number sequence with them. So whether it's birthdays, whether it's anniversaries, whether it's ages. I use this a lot for birthdays. If you're wondering why I have this sticker on top of these, this is for masking. So if masking is something that you're interested in knowing about, let me know in the chat and I will make another video at another time teaching you all about masking. I don't know. I guess that is I never looked up love in the dictionary, so I'm not quite sure where we're going to go with this. But I'm going to pull out my Amazon package packing paper and I'm just going to start stamping. So I'm hoping that you may have one or a few of these or any heart stamps that you may have. Feel free to pull them out. And before we get started, let's look at the stamp colors that I pulled out. So I am just going to stay with the theme of Valentine's Day. So I pulled out my pinks. I also pulled out some purples. I had this ombre here through Hero Arts and I figured let's pull that out. And then one of my favorite colors, sepia from Ranger. I also pulled out a brown. So we're gonna have this a mix of our pinks and purples and reds. And then we're gonna also have some browns in there. So grab your inks and grab your stamps and let's see where this takes us. I have a pretty long roll here. I am going to stamp and I have a little room in front of my desk and I'm just gonna kind of pull it over and pull up and just go again until I don't want to go anymore. I actually considered taking out my little iron to iron out some of these crinkles. However, I decided that the crinkles will add to the interest of the paper. Again, this is craft paper. This is junk journal style. So some of the imperfections are actually what we want to get. I'm also going to start with some of the larger background stamps so that I can fill out a lot of the space. And then we can go in with the smaller stamps and maybe fill in. Again, I don't have a plan. We're just going to see where the creative spark takes us. One of my favorite things to do is just stamp, like use my stamps like collage and just stamp through. And when you rip them up at the end, you kind of get what you get. And for some reason, and it has not failed me yet, it always works out. So for me, crafting is also therapeutic. And that's for me like a metaphor for life. Like sometimes don't have too much control. Just take your time and accept what the outcome would be and love it, right? And so many times in life we need that same message. So this is what some of these projects also do for me. All right, so let's go. I am going to pull out some of the bigger ones just to get some designs on the paper. So I'm going to start with this tiny prints. I love the little flowers. And I'm actually going to use sepia for a few reasons. One being that sepia has a large base. So I don't necessarily have to take the small ones and kind of get all around. I can just do a couple of taps. And one piece of advice that I have when you are stamping kind of freehand is make sure you have a hard surface. So I love my glass mat for that. Make sure you have a hard flat surface. So under my mat is just a wood table. But if you can see, like here, the wood table, there's planks. So if I were to stamp directly on there, that will mess up my impression. So if you have a glass mat, fantastic. If not, try to get just a flat, hard surface. All right, so that's just my advice. And I'm gonna pull the paper down and I'm gonna start after my tear here. And I am gonna just start stamping. And as you see, as you're stamping with these huge stamps, you're leaving a lot of spots that the stamp pad isn't making contact with. So just make sure, if you want the full impression, to just pay attention to that so that you can ensure that you get all of the ink there. And again, this is also collage paper, so we are forgiven for a lot, right? It's meant to be grungy, it's meant to be junk journally, it's meant to be ripped up in the end. All right, so I'm gonna put this down, and I have my little hockey puck thing here, and I'm just gonna let that help me. I didn't get a full impression. However, I'm okay with that because again, this is collage paper. If you're not okay with it, I don't know what to tell you, because in a case like this, you cannot go back. Now, if you're stamping on regular cardstock, you can use your stamping platform, and that way you can go over and over in the same spot so that you can make sure whatever's missing, you have a second chance. But when you're free-handing it, it's like you get what you get. So the best I can do is give you some of my best practices, which is using a hard surface. But as you saw, that's not always guaranteed. And we're also using wrinkled paper, so the paper isn't completely flat. So I'm gonna try again. Just gonna do it here. And I'm also using my puck, so I just want to put a little more elbow grease if I want, you know, more contact. Again, I am okay if not. And I notice on the edges, so I'm just gonna get this side and just push down and see if that makes a difference. It did. There's still some skippity bits, but I'm so okay with that. I'm gonna see if I can get a secondary impression, because why not? The only reason I am stamping these so close together is because we're gonna rip it apart anyway. I'm gonna grab another color. Again, one of my favorites. One of the things I love to do with my background stamps is I like to stamp them in a very light color because I want it to kind of fade to the back. I'll use it with other stamps on top of it, so it's still there, but it kind of becomes like a watermark in a way. And this is another one of my favorites, Pebble Beach. I want to use it as a background. I'm gonna stamp something on these as well, but since I use the dark color, it may not. I have to see what will show up later. Now, I could always stamp on top with like embossing powder or something like that to make it pop. So you have so many options. Just play and see what you get. And now you can see the difference from when I was stamping. I was able to place the full impression. But another thing I saw is that sometimes with these big stamps and these big stamp pads, you do get your skippity bits. So, you know, everything works. There's no right or wrong. I really love this background stamp and I don't use it enough. It's kind of like a full stamp with negative space for the design. So let's see. It's so pretty, my goodness. Maybe because it's on the craft. I've used it before, but I don't know. I'm like, it's making me feel some type of way right now. Maybe it's just the Valentine's Day in the air. I don't know. There's something about this stamp is doing it for me. I also have a white pigment. I think that'll look amazing on this craft. Like, I love craft. I don't know why. Let me take a moment to find my white pigment ink pad. It actually jumped out earlier, so I think it was trying to tell me like, hey, use me, and I ignored it. But I'm here now. I see you. I'm not sure where I'm gonna use it yet. I may pull this one back out, but I don't know. Let's see. So now I'm gonna go in with this background, and I think I'm gonna use vintage photo. All right, so I'm gonna go in with vintage photo for this one. And I may actually do one in red as well. So this is perfect because again, this is our collage paper that's going to be meant to be cut up, stamped over, gessoed over. And it's not that it's difficult. I know I look like I'm putting a lot of elbow grease here, but again, since the paper is so wrinkly, I just want to make sure I get as much down as possible. Oh, I love it. This color is even showing up lighter than my Pebble Beach, which I kind of used to be light. But for some reason with this paper, yeah, I love that. Gonna do another. I'm gonna do another in brown, but then I'm gonna do one in red as well. And again, right now we're just creating collage paper, so I'm not looking to design on the paper per se. I'm just stamping and getting the stamps down so that later I can rip out and use on some of the other art pieces. I'm finding that as a creator, as a crafter, as a paper crafter, right? As a collage artist, a mixed media artist, you want to spend a significant amount of time preparing. For me, when I sit down with nothing, I get overwhelmed and I end up getting really messy because as I'm going, all of these ideas are coming up. So I end up pulling out more of my materials, which kind of leaves me in the end a little overwhelmed with the cleanup part. So I'm finding just to sit here, just to create your materials, whether it's your ephemera, whether it's your collage papers, background papers, and then later you can kind of rip those up and put them away so that when you do sit down to create a journal page or a card or whatever you're looking to create, you pull out what you have created before. I just find that's worked better for me. I love it. So I'm going to wipe this off and then I'm going to go in with the red. I think it's time to get some red on this craft anyway. Don't you think? I like to take this big lid off with the big stamps. I love the brights and the neutrals. That's amazing. I'm gonna get a second generation just to see what I get. It's not a lot on here, but I think with the red, it'll be a good kind of, messy background. I love that. Okay. So it's really light, but that's a good use of that leftover ink. So I think I'm good with that for now. I also want to do the catalog background stamp. I want to see that in red as well. So we're going to go in for that one next. And I may actually bring out a green because I'm looking at this bill and I may want to do that in green to mimic real money because we love money. We want to make it look authentic as possible. This type of creative play I like a lot and I recommend it because it's very low stakes. So I'm not really worrying about a design. I'm just kind of creating because this is going to be all ripped up in little pieces or, whatever pieces we see fit. I don't think I usually get pieces this long of the packing. And I'm so happy because it's like I just have this roll of collage paper, but since it's not like an everyday style, I'm going to need to use it up. That's yummy. I'm going to try to get a second generation and then I am going to do this I may do this in one of the darker browns in ground espresso. Okay, very light, but a little something there. Again, very easy to stamp over or just use it as a, in the collage, especially in a place where you know that something else is going to go over anyway. Right, since I'm going to go right behind it with another color, I just want to make sure, like sometimes it's okay to let it dry, but since I'm actually using it immediately after with another color, I just want to make sure I get as much off as possible. Then I'm going to grab my ground espresso. This red and these browns on this craft looks absolutely amazing. So ground espresso is really dark. Espresso brown. This is actually second to the last darkest. There's another one, I can't think of the name offhand, but it's one of the newer colors released, and I don't think it's released in Archival, which actually makes me think, I wonder when are they going to do an update of some Archival colors. Like they've come out with all the distress oxides and inks and paints and the embossing glaze and the pencils and crayons. I think there's a crayon, but no archival. What are you guys gonna do about that, Mr. Tim Holtz and Ranger? Are we refreshing our archival? I noticed some of the other designers have tons of archival colors. I'm wondering if we're going to get more for the distress line. Someone should tag Ranger and Tim Holtz in the comments asking if we're going to get more archival distress colors. I'm going to see there's some spaces. We may not get much because I get a pretty good impression, but I'm just gonna see if we can get a second generation. We may or may not, but we won't know unless we try, right? Okay, very, very light. That ink would have went on my rag. So I'm always wondering if I want to even add the smaller stamps. Like, I think I'm loving the background stamp collage paper. I don't know, we'll see. The good thing with creative play, you don't have to make any decisions. What backgrounds do we have left? I want to do the Bank of True Love. It's not quite a background, but it's still like a pretty huge stamp. And it feels like we're coming to the end of our background, so I'll probably rip the paper. That way I'll still have some more paper to do this process again with some of our everyday stamps, so that I can use it anytime. So I'm gonna find a green. So now I need to make sure, see, to make sure the orientation is right, and that's why the new ones that's printed is so valuable. So let me grab a green. I didn't think about that, but hey, that's what creative play is all about. Think about it as you go. I'm gonna use Rustic Wilderness. Although peeled paint kind of, which one looks more like money? Money is a little light. It's not necessarily wilderness. However, we do want it to show up on this paper. So I am going to start with the peeled paint. I'm gonna try to just make sure. So you see the difference when using these small ones? You have to try to cover more ground. So I don't know if I want to use the smaller pads on the bigger backgrounds, but this one is not so big, so it's okay. You guys have any special plan for Valentine's Day? You have a Valentine? Are you gonna do a Galentine event? What are your plans? I'm gonna use the grid line here just to make sure that this is straight. Now we're gonna go in with the Rustic Wilderness. This is the Bank of True Love. Now this is one that I would definitely want to use with my stamping platform if I was stamping on traditional paper, because there's a lot of little detailed pieces that you want to make sure you can go back over. I may make a standalone card with this using embossing ink. So it looks like the tapestry is the last background stamp, and I'm actually going to use them both. I think I'm going to go dark espresso with this one because I can imagine using it full on in the collage as opposed to stamping over it. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know what I'm going to do yet. Where is my ground espresso? If I can find it. If not, I'll go in. Oh, here it is. It's right in front of me. Oh my God, that is gorgeous. 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 My goodness. Look at that. I don't know what's up or down, to be honest. I don't know if it matters. I'm excited to use this with the Distress Oxide. I'm going to use this with Distress Oxide on craft cardstock because I have a feeling that that will look so delicious, because when you use the oxide, it gives like that chalky oxidation, especially on craft. And I may just do several colors. Let me know if I should record that and have that as a craft along, because since it's already kind of right sketchy-ish, this will look good with some of the watermark, make it look super old. I'm gonna try a second generation to see what I get. I think I'm gonna emboss this on another project as well. And I want to try this using the stamping platform. All right, we didn't get much, but that is okay. We're gonna use those spaces and stamp right on over it. I'm gonna do this in the same color just to have kind of that direct comparison, seeing what they both look like since they're part of the same stamp set. I'm going to stamp the little components. They're not like large backgrounds, but I'm going to go ahead and stamp those as well. And I'm going to do it. I don't know quite what I'm going to do, what I'm going to collage yet. I know I have these small canvases. They're 4x6 that I got from a Dollar Tree. I have several. So I'm definitely going to collage a few of those smaller ones. And instead of just making a traditional card, I'll have that collage. So it'll serve the purpose of a card, but it'll be like an art piece that can be displayed. So this one is close to my heart because it's called Urban Tattoo. And as you can see, your girl loves tattoos. So I'm excited to use it. The question is what color? You know, I think I'm gonna go back in with my Pebble Beach since it's showing up really dark on this craft. I need like a brown family kind of watermarky light color because I love like it's kind of like getting a ghost print, but on purpose. I'm in the market if anyone can recommend a color in a permanent ink. I know Tim Holtz have some antique linen, something antique linen-y, but I don't think antique linen comes in Archival. And a lot of times with my backgrounds, I don't want it to bleed because I'm doing things over it. Oh, I love that's gorgeous. You can really see the details even on this crinkly paper. So I just imagine what you can see by stamping it on a traditional paper. That's gorgeous. Should I stamp another one? I think I should do another color. Yes, let's do another color. Should I do red? I know I haven't gotten to the smaller reds yet, but okay. I'm gonna do sepia and I'm gonna do red. How about that? That's how much I like this stamp. And I wonder if I have it. I need to see if you have this in the larger size because imagine writing something. And I think the reason I like it because my first junk tattoo, I call it junk tattoo because it was my first tattoo at 18 and it was a hot mess. But I had a heart and I had the little banner going through it and the little arrows and just all the things. And I don't know, it kind of reminds me of that. Even though that was my junk tattoo, it was still mine. Is now covered because it just did not age gracefully with me. But, you know, gone but not forgotten. So that's why this little stamp is really capturing my heart. Love it. All right. Oh, I love them next to each other too. That makes me think I may want to do a background where I kind of stamp multiple in different colors, like an ombre. And that's, my friends, why we play, because that's where the ideas come. The great thing about our crafting is that during our play is when we kind of create and those fun things come. You know what? I'm gonna do red and I'm gonna also do it in that ombre. Since I said ombre, I'm gonna actually use the ombre stamp. Why the heck not? Now, I'm hoping that that is a permanent ink. Ooh, I love this stamp. Oh my goodness. Where have you been my whole life? And knowing me, I may have the full-size stamp somewhere in my collection. I just may. I don't know. I don't remember this one. I'm really trying to slow down my craft purchases, but I haven't been doing that well. I haven't been great at it. So maybe if I have a Valentine, they can gift me some. Are there any other tattoo enthusiasts here? And I don't want to hear anything about growing old with tattoos because believe it or not, I look forward to being that old wrinkly lady with tattoos and I can sit there and tell my tattoo stories. So I don't know if like the dark color is going to take over or if we're going to be able to see the multiple color. Let's see. All we can do is try. No, but I'm going to do one thing. It's not going to get the whole stamp, but I just want to see. I'm just going to do this in the middle. So I may not get the whole stamp, but we can see how the ombre shows. So I'm interested to know, anyone who may use these ombre stamps, how does it work? I mean, I guess you can only use stamps that's small enough to fit on the pad. Let's see how this one comes out. Yeah, I'm not in love with that. I mean, it has to be the color of the paper, because obviously the color of the paper is going to affect the color of your stamp, right? So this would look so much better on white, I'm sure. But I need to try something. So I want to try one of my heart stamps that might fit in the pad, and I just want to see what comes of it. Actually, I'm gonna try this one big stamp because I am so intrigued all of a sudden by this ombre. Okay, I'm gonna try it first this way. I'm gonna put it on here and just try to get a good impression, but without moving it. Looks good here. Okay, that looks better. And I'm sure that it is because of the color of the paper that this particular ink is looking so dull. Gonna also try, I don't think I'll get the whole heart, but I'm gonna do it one more time in the landscape or the horizontal. This one was vertical, so I'm gonna try it horizontal. Now, I'm not getting the whole heart, but you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back and try to line this up. Okay. Well, you've redeemed yourself. I like you now. I just think that you may want to use a smaller stamp. And the colors look so rich because we're using this brown paper. Now, if you were to use it on white paper, I believe you'll get a totally different outcome. I don't have any white paper in front of me, so we'll have to test that out in a later video. But that is actually gorgeous. Even now on the craft. Now I think in this one, obviously, I just didn't see the ombre at all. And then these are next to these colors, so I just didn't immediately, like, it just didn't do anything for me. But these kind of solid stamps, yeah, for sure. Okay, so we're coming to the end of these like larger stamps. I'm going to do one more of the components, and this is actually a smaller version of the Bank of True Love. I'm actually going to stamp it next to it. When I look at this component, is a collage of some of these. So we have the Bank of True Love and we have the XO. And then these are probably from a different stamp set. But so this smaller one is just like a collage of two stamps from the heart set. I like that because you can create projects that are like a small and a large version on the one card. What color for this? I'm going to use the sepia. I'm going to make sure those words on the side get ink on them. Okay, I like that. That's cute. I can dig it. I'm going to just get a second generation stamp because why the heck not? All right, and before I finish this up, it's not a background stamp, but it's a pretty big stamp of hearts. So I'm just gonna do a couple of those. And I'm so proud of myself because I'm actually putting everything away as I'm going, because I have been crafting a lot lately and my space is kind of a mess and I don't want to exist that way. I'm just make it a little easier on myself. I have some other things I need to do today, so I don't necessarily want to spend my day cleaning up after myself. So I'm going to use this one because it's pretty big, and the other stamps are smaller, so we're going to go back up and stamp kind of in between. So I think this is all the larger stamps I'm going to use. Definitely red for sure. That is gorgeous. So I am going to play around with this stamp a little more because of course they're hearts. I have a few colors that I haven't used yet, so we're gonna see what we come up with. All right, I definitely want to hit this purple for sure. I want to do an ombre, so I'm gonna do dark purple at the bottom. And that's the great thing about these smaller ones. You can kind of, you know, do small parts. So this is Villainous Potion, and then I'm going to go in the middle with Dusty Concord. Let's see how different. Now the middle is a little more difficult, as you see, because you have some cross contamination with the top, but that's okay because we're going to take us a little rag. I'm going to clean that off, and then I only have two purple, so I'm going to go in with picked raspberry. That's a pink. It's a little darker. I have another pink that I'm using, Kish Flamingo. That's a little lighter, but I'm gonna go with this one just to kind of coordinate with those purples. I'm gonna be honest, I may want to do a whole collage sheet of these hearts. Gorge. Eye is not as much like ombre effects. It looks a little, you know, again, the craft just kind of give it a vintagey feel, which I'm looking for. So I don't know why I keep getting surprised when these darker colors kind of look muted, because that's why I'm doing the craft paper like that, second generation. You know, something about these solid stamps. I think that's where you really get the bang for your buck with the second generation stamping. I am going to go in with Kish Flamingo. And let's see what the lighter pink gives us, or how it comes out on the craft paper. You know what? Let me try. I forgot about the pigment, the white pigment ink pad that I took out earlier. Let's get us some white hearts, and maybe we can use a slimline pen and do some red, kind of draw the red outlines around it. That may be fun. I always forget that the pigment ink has this little piece on it. I did white pigment ink on craft for Christmas, and man, it was gorgeous. I really liked the, oh shoot, why did I do that? I may have to buy another ink pad. Don't do that at home, people. So this is Glacier White by Ranger. Okay, this is also waterproof. Okay, good. Dries permanently and quickly. Okay, so I'm taking it. Most stamp pads will tell you what they are. Okay, that's gorge. I love that. I mean, it has a tint of red. However, for this case, that's fine. I thought I wiped it off good, but I guess I left some residue. I'm not going to worry about it. Do another one, maybe. No. That's just like when you wash red clothes and you throw one white piece in there. So I should have known. We'll see. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it won't transfer. We'll see it over time. But you see, just looking at this, you see how good that looks? So I'm definitely making some transparent collage paper with this. Let's see if we get a second generation, because why not? Okay, not so much. That's okay. I mean, I can't go backwards, but I probably should have did that with the red before putting it in my white. I'm a little conflicted. I don't know if I'm sad or not. I mean, the great thing is you can just order another one, but who wants to do that? Shoot. All right, I'm not gonna cry over spilled milk. No pun intended. Although I'm gonna take a look to see. I don't know. I'm kind of feeling finished. I still have tons of paper left. Thank you, whoever packed this Amazon box. We're gonna take a moment to look at what we have so far. Then we can kind of decide on what needed. Okay, so this is where we ended, and I am, oh, this is actually coming up. It's very faint, but it's like getting darker. All right, so let's look at what we, so this was a fantastic way to use those large background stamps and just making collage paper, because we can just rip what we need. Actually, I think we're gonna make a part 1 and a part 2, because this video is super long. So this is part 1 of making background paper, and come back for part 2 where we fill in the spaces, and then we'll make a part 3 where we'll actually take this paper and create something. Remember, regardless of where you are in your crafty journey, you belong here. I'll see you in the next video.